Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a card to share as part of the Simon Says Stamp Summer Release Blog Hop. For my card, I'm just going to be creating this BU card, which features the new hexagon circle die from Simon Says Stamp, as well as the new B word die. In addition to those, I'm using some older releases, which are the U die and the Circle Friends stamp set, so that I could use that B stamp. So to start off my card, I just used a regular piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock, scored it and folded it to a standard size card, and went ahead and die cut a circle out of the front of the card using the My Favorite Things Circle Stacks dies. I just kind of measured and picked a die slightly larger than the hexagon circle die, since that will eventually be nestled in the middle there. And what I did is I combined two dies together. I picked the smallest one that I used to cut the circle, and then picked one slightly larger, and adhered them together with washi tape, and then just went ahead and cut that with black cardstock, and that is how I got this great little thin border that I'm going to adhere around that circle. So it's just a great way to kind of separate all of the white that you end up with when you have like a die cut type card like this, where you're going to be able to see onto the inside. So once I had it adhered there, as you can see there, a lot of the white was still showing of the base cardstock, and it was kind of distracting to me. So I just used a tuxedo black memento marker and just went around the inside and kind of colored it. And that just made the whole entire inside of the circle completely black, and you don't even notice. Just be careful though that when you finish doing that, you set your card aside to dry. Don't ask me how I know, but if you close it right away, you end up with black marker splotches on the inside of your card and need to start over. So once you have that set aside to dry, just go ahead and get your circle hexagon dies, and we're just going to go ahead and cut those out. So to do those, I just use the solid piece, which is going to be the background of the completed die cut piece, and I cut that out of the Bow Bunny, I think it's the soft shades dotted pattern paper. And then for the hexagon part, I used my Stardust, no, I'm sorry, not my Stardust, my Cool Highlights glitter from Glitter Ritz, and just put that onto a adhesive covered piece of cardstock, and then I cut the die right out of that. So the whole entire hexagon piece is completely glittery. So I don't know how well it comes up on the camera, but it looks really cool in real life, and just adds a great pop to the card once it's finished. So now that I have that all adhered together, this little piece here is now going to fit perfectly inside the card, and when I do actually adhere it in, I'm just going to use some foam adhesive, and then that'll help it kind of pop up out of the center a bit. So once I have that all together and I know it fits perfectly and my circle is now dry and we're good to go, it's time to put the sentiment on the card. And I was originally going to do some stamping, and then I thought that it would kind of look neat if I use some of the word dies that Simon has, and just kind of did a play on words and used the B, because I'm going to eventually put a B onto the front of the card. So I just went ahead and die cut those out of the same black cardstock that I used for the circle border piece there. And then when I adhered them to the card, I layered them over top of that circle piece, so it kind of looks like they're coming out of that circle border. So everything kind of just blends right together, and it looks really neat. But for the U part, the words were kind of a little bit too long at the beginning and at the end. The loops kind of went longer than I wanted them to. So I just took my scissors and just kind of trimmed those off there, and then it fit perfectly. And I allowed extra space on the right side of the card, just because I knew that the U was bigger and would need more space. So that's why I have the circle kind of offset there. But I think it even adds that much more to the card by having it not perfectly all centered. So I'm just going to use my liquid adhesive and go ahead and adhere those words onto the card. And then, as you can see, I like a lot of foam adhesive, but I am the type of person, I don't like the piece that's raised to like sag into the card, so I prefer to have too much foam adhesive than not enough. So anyway, I put that on, and that's all ready to go. So now that we have all the base pieces done, we just need to create our little B that we're going to add to the card front. So I just used the same Bow Bunny paper, except I used the darker version of the same patterns, just because I wanted the B to obviously still be yellow, but I didn't want it to blend right into the hexagon piece. So this just allowed it to be a little bit of a darker shade of yellow. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that onto the yellow paper using VersaFine, which is my favorite black ink for any kind of detail stamping or sentiment stamping. So pretty much if I'm not using Copics, this is my go-to black ink that I use. It takes not very long to dry, even though it's a pigment ink, and the images are so crisp and perfect, so it's just a really great ink. So I just went ahead and stamped that onto the yellow, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the exact same bee image onto my leftover piece of glitter paper so that I can cut out his wings and adhere them to the yellow bee but have sparkly glittery wings. So just a kind of a fun, easy way to use up scraps and just add a little bit of something to that bee who probably wouldn't have yellow wings anyway. So now that I have the little yellow bee there cut out, I'm just going to put it on some white paper just so you can kind of see what I'm doing there. And I'm just going to take my Memento Tuxedo marker and just color in some of the stripes on his body just to make him look a little bit more realistic. And then as you can see, now that I have him cut out, the antenna on the top of the bee were kind of difficult to cut out since they're just a straight, little tiny thin piece of the image. So rather than try and fiddle with them and leave like a little bit of a border on them, I just opted to cut them right off. And then at the end of the video, which I completely forgot to tape, I'm just going to use thread and just kind of adhere a piece onto the back of his body and let the two little pieces stick up. So even though you don't see me do it, you can see in the completed card that he has some thread coming out of the top of him for his antenna. So now that I have all the pieces there cut out, you can see I cut out the wings individually. Just make sure that you let the ink dry when you stamp it on the glitter, and use a permanent type ink to do the stamping. So when I did the stamping on the wings, I used Stays-On Black rather than the VersaFine because that just dries a lot quicker and it's a permanent ink on a surface like glitter, which the VersaFine really probably wouldn't be that great on. So I just went ahead and just put a little bit of adhesive there on the wings, and I just stuck those glittered parts on top. So now we have a perfectly bee body, except for that you can still see the white core of the paper on the edges of the bee, which drives me crazy. So I always just go ahead with my black marker and just kind of trace around the edges like I did with the black circle, and it just makes the whole image look like it's completely black stamping ink around the edges. So then once I had that done, I just went ahead and added the bee on, got it positioned there where I wanted it, and the card is good to go. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.